So, Julia, we're going to talk about theater and the filming industry.
hmm
What are some classical plays that you are involved in school that introduce this as one of your passions?
Oh, yeah, I was not in any place. I was not in any place in school. So, in elementary school, a teacher introduced a movie called Hairspray. Funny enough, I don't remember this. My mom remembers this because she tells me. She tells me. But there's this movie with Hairspray, and it's based off a play. It's based off a play that was made into a movie, and then another movie, and then now people like do it as a play. It's with I think it's the '09 version. I think it's the '09 version. It's with Zac Efron, Queen Latifah, Elijah Kelly, and Amanda Bates. Love that. So when I first watched that movie when I was younger, I was like, I love this. Like I loved it. Like when I tell you I watched that movie all the time when I was younger. It was my comfort movie. That's just something that I love. And I guess what I loved about theater is just how big and dramatic it is. And I love the music aspect of it, right? I love how they're just randomly singing out of nowhere, but it still makes sense in the storyline. I love the dances. I love the costume. So I think it's just the whole production of it that made me think like, I love it, right? But when I was younger, I didn't know it was theater. I was like, I love musicals for sure, because High School Musical for sure. So for me, I was still in my Disney era. So for me, that was just a musical to me. I didn't even know it was theater until I got to high school, and then that's when I was young. But I'm gonna say seven. I'll say seven.
So, why is the process of making a play amazing?
I think so. Okay, so to make a play, you have to start. Like you have to start. That I think that's the thing, right? You can't just. I think to do anything, you have to start. You can't just already be doing it. You have to start somewhere, right? And you have to start with an idea. If you're like Lyndon Miranda, or if you're like Jonathan Larson, right? I think you really have to start from a really different idea and a really cool idea, right? Like Jonathan Larson, may he rest in peace. But he started, I think, like his first play, it took him 8 years to write it, right? Because he was like, this is a play, it's gonna send me straight to Broadway, right? And with that play, he talked about, yeah, and in that play it's called Superbia, I believe. Yeah, it's called Superbia. And he talked about a lot of, I think, like the things that were kind of what he saw during his time, because it was like the 1990s, like 1990s, the beginning of 2000s. So he really wrote about kind of what he saw of the world and how he saw it in a sense. And yeah, in a sense. And then with Lyndon Miranda, he got the idea of a play from just reading the book of Hamilton, right? So sometimes to start a play, you have to either start with your surroundings or to start with the book, right? Which is cool. And then once you start with the book, you have to now translate that into a script, right? And you have to write it, which I think is really hard, right? Because you have to, not only do you have to write it, but you have to make it sound good. You have to make it sound believable. Like, okay, this is actually what's happening. This is actually like what these people are doing, right? And then once you have the script, and because it's a Broadway musical, you need a song. And writing a song is really hard, especially writing like 5 to 8 songs, right? So not only do you have to write a song, you have to make sure you write a song that makes sense in your play, and where it makes sense into where you're putting it in your script writing. So I think it's just all like having the idea, writing the songs that go with all the idea, and you have to troubleshoot it, right? Because your first idea is never your best idea. It's never your best idea. So to really like go through that thinking process and to really like, this is it, this is good, and to having other people around you listen to it to see what's good, what's bad is really important. And then to put together a play. That's is also another ordeal.
What is the easiest thing about being part of a play?
Honestly, I think it's performing. I think actually performing the play is the easiest because you practice it, you've learned it, you know it forwards, you know it backwards, you probably know it in a different language. So I think like when you perform it, it's like you're really in that world, you're in that headspace, and all you have to do is just sing your little heart out, do it with a smile on your face, and then do it for like an hour or two, all depends on how long the show is. But all you have to do is just sing and just perform what all you worked for into that moment.
What is the most challenging? I'm guessing like everything that happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, I would say like learning everything, right? Like learning your lines, learning your cues, learning the dance steps. I think that would be like really hard because, you know, like once you start a play, you just have everything's thrown at you, right? Music is thrown at you, lyrics is thrown at you, writing is thrown at you, right? And then of course, if you do it wrong, you have to do it again. And if you keep doing it wrong, well, then everybody gets frustrated because then you can't do your job that you was paid to do. So you have to really like get over those humps. So I think it's just learning your show is the hardest part for sure.
Who takes the blame when a play isn't as successful?
Ooh, I think it's I think it's the writer. I think the writer takes the blame because the writer is the creator of the show. So if the show is bad, then it's the writer's fault because you created this out of thin air, right? So ideally, it's your fault because you couldn't create something better, you know? But yeah, I think they do take the blame for it for sure.
So theater is a form of acting. So how do you know when it's time to activate that acting side of you out? How do you know when to put the switch on?
Honestly, I think it's when kind of like the theater lights come on. I think once you have the lights and the spotlight right on you, then you know it's like, all right, time to kick it into high gear. With the curtains open, time to kick it into high gear. That's how I personally feel about it. I think maybe actors maybe do it a little bit sooner than that, but I think like when like everything is in their place and in their time, that's when they kick it into high gear.
Did you ever witness someone getting yelled at for not reciting a certain line properly or not playing a certain scene correctly?
Not in person, but in shows. Yeah, in shows I've seen it.
There are many actors and actresses who openly stated that they don't go back and watch their own plays. So for the plays that you've been a part of, have you went back and seen how you acted?
No. The little that I've done, no, I have not. No, I have
Okay.
not. Like for me, I think for me, I can hear my voice fluctuate a lot. So for me, if I hear my voice fluctuate a lot, I'm like, nah, I don't like that. Let's just turn it off for sure. I think just to see myself on the other side of the camera, I think it's a bit weird. Not weird. I don't think it's a bit weird. If I'm being honest, it's like, is that really me? And then I just start nitpicking everything I see. And feel like you're fine. I'm like, no, you don't see what I see.
Now, I feel like it's a universal thing because even with me being a podcaster, or let me take it back, like even when I was journaling before podcasting, once I wrote a journal entry for that day, it was done. I'm not ever going back. And so it wasn't until my cinematographer stated that I should take the time and go back and look at some videos. So if he didn't state that, I think I would have just, after each video, it acts as a record or a file. So it's just like on to the next. So I think it's a universal human nature type of thing where we don't want to hear like ourselves. I guess it's like deja vu.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like,
can
yeah,
see
like
that.
we're good. It's in the history books.
Yeah, and I think for me, if I ever see myself back, I kind of like to see it from another person's point of view. Like if I see somebody take a video of me, I'm fine with that because it's like they see me in their point of view and their perspective, right? So then I just look at it differently. But if I'm just seeing like just a regular video, it's something about that feels personal. That I'm like, yeah, no, I just can't look at that video.
How did you manage stage fright when you were first starting off?
Oh no, I still have stage fright for sure, for sure. I still have stage fright. Funny, which so funny enough. I think when I have a lot of attention on me, I think like my anxiety kicks in, and I do feel a bit weird when I have a lot of attention on me, which is funny because not a lot of people believe that because you know I'm from Atlanta, so I do think I'm all that in a bag of chips for sure. So I do think I'm all that in a bag of chips, and I know that a lot of times I carry myself in a confidence way for sure. And you know, a lot of people they turn, stop, and stare for sure. But so for me, I have learned to just really like be comfortable in who I am and in my skin for sure. But at the same time, I've learned to deal with how people stare at me in public for sure. Like I learned that, but stage fright, no, I definitely still have it. I definitely still have stage fright.
How do you take constructive criticism when a play doesn't go according?
Oh, I take it pretty well for sure. I don't take it personally. I take it well. I don't take it personally because it's kind of like if I messed up, then tell me that I messed up for sure, right? But I think when it comes to performing, I can get very sensitive, and I can take it very personally because I did it. right? Like it's like I did it. So I think if I do something, I take it well, but at some point I'm like, all right, it's nothing personal. Let's just, let's calm down. You're okay. You're gonna be fine.
In the filming industry, are you in constant competition?
Yeah, for sure. Cause it's like you can have the part, the next girl could have the part. The only difference could be looks, right? The difference could be age. The difference could be skin color. The difference could be, do you sing better than her? Does she sing better than you? Does she have more of a range? For sure. But yeah, there's a competition for sure.
Apart from physical traits, what else do directors look for in actors and actresses?
If we're talking about musical singing ability, for sure, like, can you sing? Do you sing well? Do you have a good range? Do you have a good vocal range? Do you have a good vocal, like, control of your voice? I think a little physical appearance. I think, like, voice is important. And then I guess, like, how you act, that's important too.
Okay. What's the difference between a director and a producer?
Okay. So a director has a vision for the film, right? So a director, like, I see the film like this, right? I want it like this. I want to shoot it like this. Is how it is. A producer, what you call it? A producer. Not only do they help you make the film, but they also do make sure that you're doing what you want to do, right? Everything is happening the way that you want it to happen, and also that you're doing it on time, right? Because the producer kind of helps you with like the budgeting of it to make sure that you don't go over budget, or to make sure that you don't. But let's say you have 2 hours to shoot a movie, right? They make sure, okay, you got to do this in 5 minutes, and you got to do this in 10 minutes. So they kind of like your manager in a sense. They make sure everything is on track.
Was there ever a time that you directed or produced?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. How do you think the feeling is like, even though you've never touched up on it?
I think directing would be fun for sure. You do have to know a lot about like camera work for sure. I think you do have to know a lot about like the behind the scenes stuff to direct, I believe. But I think it would be like really fun to make something in your image for sure. I think being a director is closest to being a fashion designer, because everything is hence creative director, right? Because everything is in your image, how you want it to be.
So how rare is it to be an actor, a director, and a producer?
Oh, really weird, for sure. It's really weird, cause yeah, for sure. Yeah, cause ideally they tell you that you can only be one thing, right? So you have to choose that one thing, right? But if you choose to be that one thing, it will be hard to do that one thing, right? I mean, unless you have like really good connections, it'll be hard to be that one thing, right? And also, I think it would be a lot to have a person. It's a lot for one person to manage everything, right? Because like not only are you directing the movie in your image, now you have to act it, right? So now you have to be in front of the camera and behind the camera at the same time. And not only to do that, now you have to manage the whole film, right? So I think in your head, you have like a lot distracting you. You be, okay, the scene has to go well. I have to do it like this, and I have to get it done in 5 minutes. So I think to be all three is really challenging.
Do you know anyone that's all three? Because the only one I could think of would be Denzel Washington. I think if he's
Well, I don't know. Will Smith produced. Well, maybe. I think Will Smith. Yeah, Will Smith acts. He directs some scenes and he produce. I'm pretty sure. And I think Will Smith does that for sure.
So is acting, is it a talent or a skill, or just something that someone just has within them?
I think it's both for sure. I think like if you have the talent, it's hard. If you have the talent, it's easy to make it into a skill for sure. Like you should that Raven Simone. Like Raven Simone, she did an interview and she said how like she never liked acting, right? She only did it because it was a job, right? Which is crazy to us because she's really good at acting. Some people call her talented, right? She's really good at doing it, right? But for her, yes, it was her talent. Yes, it was her talent, and she developed it into a skill. She didn't like doing it. For sure. And then skill, I think skill is something like if you're not as talented, it comes hard I think it's just, you have to work harder for it, right? Because if you're not talented, it doesn't come as easy as you have to practice a lot more. You have to really sell like the role that you're doing.
When you're watching a film, what stands out to you?
The costumes, of course, fashion designer. So I always look at the costumes for sure. Especially if they're like time period based, or they're just theatrical, or if they have a theme to it, I really like the costumes for sure. Favorite part.
What is your favorite film and why?
You know, this is probably gonna sound redundant, but Hairspray. Yes, Hairspray. Hairspray is my favorite film. Hairspray is my favorite because not only is it nostalgic for me, I love all the actors in it. I love all the songs in it. I love the storyline in it, which is an interesting storyline. I love the storyline in it for sure. But I think for me, I just love I love everything about that movie. I don't think there's one thing about that movie I can really nitpick, to be honest.
Who's the best on-screen performer of all time to you?
I'll say Cynthia. Cynthia do a good job. But to keep it not as biased, Cynthia. I say Cynthia. Not to be as biased. But Johnny Depp. Yeah. He's a good one. Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah. I love Pirates of the Caribbean so much. So yeah. Johnny Depp for sure.
What are your long-term plans involving acting and play?
Don't want to act. Still got stage fright, so don't want to do that. With plays, I would love to be a costume designer for one of them. I do. I think that'd be really fun. I think it'd be really cool. I would love to meet a writer for a play for sure. Like I would love to meet the next Jonathan Larson. I would love to meet the next Lin-Manuel Miranda. For sure. I would love to just I would love to just meet another creative person in a different field. I think that's just what it is. I would love to meet somebody who's creative in writing and songwriting and to just share that other part of myself with that person.
Julia, thank you for your time. To conclude, do you have any statements to end the topic of acting and
theater? Love Cynthia. Love Cynthia. Love Johnny Depp. Love RDJ. Love Marilyn Streep. Regina Hall. Regina King. Latifah. Ooh, who else do I love? I'm trying to, make sure.
What about any advice for someone who wants to dive into that field?
Oh, go into acting?
Or just in general,
Oh.
Any field where they have to sell.
Okay. If you're going into a field, and you have to sell something, well, make sure it's good. Please make sure it's good. Let's do that first. Make sure it's good. Make sure it's reliable. Please make sure it's reliable. If it's not reliable, people will not like it. Especially if it's a small business, it has to be reliable. Make sure it's durable. Please make sure it's durable. If it's not durable, people would just give you ammunition to not buy it again, and to make sure to tell people not to buy it again. Be different. Please be different. Please be creative. Trust me. Please be different. Please be creative. And 5, if you want to sell something, make sure you believe it and make sure you like it. Because if you don't like what you're doing, if you don't believe what you're doing, how can somebody else do it? But end notes, be different, be creative. Please, please, please.
Julia, thank you for your time.
You're so welcome.